There we are. See, it just comes right on. Got it.
Yeah.
It looks horrible though. All right, we're going with it. We will look like Twilight characters today because it's hard to do both sides of this thing, right? Y'all know this. It's difficult to like I don't know, be a guest at the same party that you're hosting. That's what it. Oh man, I like that. So anyway, thanks for being here, gang. You have, if you're on here and you're in the US, you either have off this week because of Thanksgiving, or you have like 3 days to go and then you're just chilling. So we want to help you in any way that we can to get from here to there, because there's nothing like going into Thanksgiving break or any break really when you just feel like you don't got it. The juice is gone. So we want to make sure that we help you get in to this feeling as good as humanly possible. So yeah, so with that, if you have a question, please show up and just put the question in the chat with a Q or a question before it so that we know that it's a question. And look, if you see somebody in there that has that you're like, man, I'd really love, like you hear us talk about something and you're like, I would actually suggest this, put it in the chat, like type their name and let them know that you're writing to them. Because that is just, it's a way that we just show up for one another, and it's a way for you to show up and be able to give as well. So, yes.
You're going to start us off?
I am going to start us off. I got it. Joshua Chisholm hit me up on Instagram the other day and asked if I would answer this question on Sunday Night Teacher Talk, and I will oblige. So the question is, any tips on becoming a better listener or slowing down your mind when it's racing 1,000,000 miles per hour? I think being a better listener is stopping what you're doing and listening. Don't try to keep typing the email. Don't try to keep grading the papers. Don't try to give a kid directions or find late work for someone or missing work for someone. Stop. Focus on what's happening right then, and then that's all you're doing. You're just focusing on listening to someone. You want to be able to listen well enough in your own head that if necessary, you could repeat back to them. You could paraphrase back to them what they just said to you. To slow down, it is, for me, it's movement. So that might be movement to, it might be just walking. It might be going outside, like, and somewhere near nature. It doesn't matter. Like in Philly, we had the front of our school had grass, and then it had a couple of trees, and they weren't even good trees. That, like, one was like a holly tree, which is like they're just evil because you can't even walk in your bare feet on the grass. But like, as if I was going to do that at school. But just somewhere even near that level of nature just made me feel better. So oftentimes I just walk out of the school building, go out front, no one can see, and just stand there, walk on the side of the building, and just take a breath to really calm yourself down. And the science supports it. I mean, it's just really good. It just helps with that stuff.
Absolutely.
This lighting is ridiculous.
It's really terrible. I am not so sure that I love this.
I definitely don't love this.
Especially, I have a headache today. Well, you just made it even worse.
I did.
Now we're blurry.
Should I leave it like this?
No.
All right. You got a question for me?
Yeah.
We're just going to move through.
Mm-hmm.
We'll figure it out.
I don't know.
This
Now you
is-
confused the whole camera.
I did.
It's just not going back.
What
I
is
swear,
happening?
technology is sometimes one of those things that. Here, let me see if I'm magic.
Yeah, put your magic hand up there.
Everybody see my hand? Here we are. It's still blurry.
All right.
Okay.
You keep going. I'm going to try and fix it.
Oh, you're
Leave me a
getting
question.
Okay. Stephanie, here we go. This is live, literally. Steph Shook is up asking, I'm pursuing national board this year with a buddy. CJ, when you were writing your book, how did you manage your writing time to ensure you made all the deadlines along with everything else in life?
So
That helped.
I took a note from I forget who said this. I want to say it's Neil Gaiman. Oh, that camera looks way better. Neil Gaiman, I think he said this. It is sitting down. So for me, it's maximizing your time and making sure that your time is not just maximized, but like, so what I mean by that is like, when is the best time of your day? So there are typically like 3 different periods of someone's day. You have a green time, a red time, or green time, a yellow time, and a red time. So at what time, Steph, are you at your best? Are you at your creative best generally? So mine is, I'd say somewhere from like 8 to 11 a.m., something like that, right? So I wake up and I'm do all my morning stuff. And then by the time I can like sit down and I'm focused, I'll say it's 8 o'clock a.m. for like a big project like that. I then I put my phone on silent. I let everyone know that they're not allowed to talk to me in the whole house if anyone's here, because I got to just focus in. I find that going to the same place and doing the writing at the same time, I listen to the same playlist. I listened to the same probably 30 songs when I was writing my book over and over and over again. And that is because I don't want to like pick new songs. I just want to get into that flow. So then it is wanting to produce something. It is not thinking about it. It is just writing. During this time, I'm not outlining. I'm not researching. The writing time is the writing time. So even if I write for an hour or an hour and a half, let's just say you wrote for an hour and a half, it is trying to produce. My goal was to produce like 3 crappy pages a day. That's all I had to do was like 3 crappy pages a day. And then I took this idea from Ernest Hemingway. When you finish writing a section, like when you're done for the day, when you know you're finishing for the day, know the next thing you're going to say, so that the next time you sit down, you're not just starting from nowhere. You actually have an idea of like, you read that last sentence or two and you're like, oh yeah, this is what I was going to say next. So you're kind of like giving yourself momentum. It's equivalent to like pushing my bike to the top of the hill so that when I start pedaling, it's easier instead of like starting at the bottom of the hill and I got to get all the way up to the top first. So that's kind of how, those are a few of the things. I also wrote in the same place. I either wrote in our bedroom or I wrote at the same Starbucks in the same seat, so that it cut out decision making and it made it more of a routine and a rhythm for me.
I would say ultimately you also he had to be really diligent with cutting like time like out. And this is my dedicated time that I'm doing this, which is why you cut everything else out. Cause you really only there's only so much time in a day with all of your commitments. I imagine that you have stuff that you really, when you're sitting down to do it, you really have to sit down and do it. And you really have to focus. And you just created such a good like rhythm and routine for that when you did sit down that you were very focused on it.
Yeah.
And I think that's key. Okay.
Thanks
Next question.
for that.
Oh, you're welcome. Your next question. Well, I know, because I hated it. I was always like, oh gosh, she's going to go right. This means like, I just couldn't talk to you or like. Yeah.
That is true.
Yep. All right. Ian's up next. Actually, this is not a question, but he just wanted to give me some love and say he's a first-year teacher in Pennsylvania. I want to thank you for being a positive influence. Whenever I'm not sure about how to deal with an issue in my classroom, I watched one of your videos.
Thank you. That's the best
so
kind
nice.
of compliment that you can get. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Okay. Chris Carson is up next asking favorite Christmas movie and why.
Elf, because it's hilarious and heartwarming, and it has so many one-liners that I could sit here all day and tell you one-liners from Elf.
We love Elf.
I love you. I love you. I love you.
We use a lot of them all year long.
We do.
Okay, KP is up
World's
next.
Best cup of coffee.
Asking, hi CJ and Jenna, where did you get the "You got this" and keep going heart decorations on the wall?
Oh, I think someone actually, I think there was a DM or a message. These are from, let me do this. So what we're talking about is this. These are from a street artist in Philly who I invited to come to my history of hip hop class. And she did a talk on where these came from and things like that. You can look her up on Instagram. Her name is Amberello. That is Amberello, I believe. And she made them for my classroom. And then when I left the classroom, that's one of the things that has stayed with us. I've gotten rid of most of the stuff that was in my classroom, but
that's an original. You can't get rid of that.
No.
And
She's
to know the
fantastic.
story behind it, it's like she suffered with a lot of mental health issues, and she created them and would put them like on her route of walks of like how I would get to work or how I would get to, you know, public transit or whatever. And she like would wheat paste them along the way to be reminders to herself to say, you got this and keep going. I just thought, I love that story. And now they're all over. She's in the Philadelphia airport. She gets commissions and travels all over to me.
She's all over the place. She's in India right now.
Oh, she is?
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. Sing us a song, CJ.
Oh, well, I love you.
All right, never mind.
Got my dad, and I'm singing.
All right, Deanna is up next. I am currently responsible for the planning lessons and curriculum for three-year groups. How can I make this workload manageable for myself, but still create engaging, effective lessons?
So the further I got in my, so I'll say this, when I first started teaching, I want everything to be original. Then I realized that originality doesn't really, no one cares. No, your school doesn't care. The parents don't care. Your students don't care. The students just want to not have a terrible day or something that's boring. So I figured it was a whole lot easier. So I imagine this, if someone asked me to make ramen, right? Like just go out and like whip it up. I wouldn't even know the first place. How do you make a ramen noodle? I don't even know. I don't know what's in that little magical packet of awesome, that powder that flavors the water. I don't know anything about it, but I have learned from some friends how to take regular ramen and just level it up, how to add a few things that's going to make people go, wait, what? This is ramen. This is $6 for $1 at the dollar store ramen that we sprinkled some magic on. I don't think lessons should be any different than that. It is finding stuff that someone has already found success with. And then this is one of my hacks, is using that and then putting my own spin on it. So like for me to go out and if I'm reading the book, let's say I'm reading Eli Wiesel's Night, right? My daughter's reading this in school right now. I'm not going to make my own comprehension questions, right? There's probably a gazillion versions of comprehension questions out there. There's probably a gazillion versions of assessments, but I don't know that assessment is going to work exactly for me. So I go through it and I change things. And I move this here and I add a close reading section and I do the stuff that I do. So my assessments make sense, but some of that stuff I'm not creating from nothing. I'm not creating, like I would go through comprehension questions and make sure that it is something that aligns with my standards, that I'm looking for different levels of questions. So I don't want just everything to just be, some kind of recall question. I want deeper levels of questioning in there, but I'm not making them up from scratch. So it's no different than working with a team. It's just that when you do this, you just don't know who the rest of your team is, and they certainly don't know that you know them. But it's, other things I've done is work with other teachers to create stuff. So this might be something that you do with someone that's from another school. Maybe it's not even from your state, but you're looking for that collaborative piece that's going to help this go further. I think the other thing is similar to how I answered Steph's question about writing a book. It's putting a timeline on it, right? There's a law that is scientific law that says, it's Parkinson's law, saying a task will take the time. Basically, the task will take the time that you give it. And we all live this, because you know for sure that if you have the whole weekend to clean your house, a lot of times for most of us, it takes the whole weekend to clean your house. But if your mother-in-law is coming over and you know how judgmental she is, not saying that about my mother-in-law, Sylvia, we're not talking about you here. We'll talk about you some other ways. But you know that you can get your house cleaned up incredibly fast, because this task takes the time that we give it. So sometimes it's fun to sort of gamify it and say, if I only had this much time, what would I get to get this done? Could I get it done? Or let me set an hour a day, or whatever that is, of quiet, concentrated. We call it going, what do I call it? The tight bubble of total focus is what Robin Sharma calls it, where you cut out all external distractions. This is a good reason not to be in your house to do stuff, or in your classroom, because you'll end up cleaning up stuff, or you'll turn into the as soon as I get my desk all organized, then I'm going to clean stuff up. So instead, creating the time and space to be able to get this done, and then that's how you just get more done, because what happens is your brain gets into this flow state, and when that's undisrupted, you can get so much more work done, because you're in the zone, right? AutoZone. Yeah.
Oh man, thanks for that song.
I think the collaborative piece though is everything. Once our English department started working together and not being competitive with one another, it just changed everything in the school.
Jessica is up next asking, how do you revamp classroom management in the middle of the year? I started out stronger, more consistent than past years, but have a lot I want to change and don't want to wait until next year.
I was going to have to talk to you about this today.
Me?
Yeah. I think we should want
to revamp our classroom management?
I think we need to revamp our classroom management with our children. No, I think we should do a workshop on this before winter break.
Oh,
a one-off,
let us know what
something
you think.
That I just feel like people need it.
Yeah,
and I just keep seeing it everywhere.
Yeah,
and I think that it's if you need it, great. If you don't need it, fine. But just offering it to folks. So, Jessica, I think one of those things is identifying what are the big issues, right? So is it kids walking around? Is it kids talking when you're talking? Is it kids just not doing work? Is it kids screwing around? Kids coming in late? What are those issues? And then figuring out who your biggest, who's the biggest problem in those spaces. So which kids are giving you the most difficulty, and then figuring out because there's always a handful of kids that you're pretty sure if you got them in line, it would eradicate most of your headache. So then it's figuring out specific things to do for those kids. And so one of those things I think that teachers stop doing, by and large, I think it's not just calling home to tell them that their kid is out of pocket. It's keeping kids on a rotating, I'm checking in every week. And the way that I always did that was because generally behavioral issues lead to grade issues. So most kids that are acting up are not doing well in class. So it's focusing on that, focusing on then I would do a grade tracker. So every Friday you have to write down, what did we learn this week? How did you feel about class this week? Some of that kind of stuff. But then it was ultimately, what assignments did you miss this week? What's a 0 in the grade book, or what is missing in the grade book? And then what is your current grade in class? If your current grade is not passing, if you're currently failing, even if a 70 is passing and you have a 69, you have to take this form home and get it signed by a parent or guardian. And then on Monday, if you do not bring it back, I send out a blanket email to all parents saying, all parents I didn't get those from, and say, hey, if you're not receiving this, if you're receiving this email, it's because your student is failing my class currently. And they were supposed to bring home this document to you so you could see what was going on, and they did not return it. So it's that sort of like consistent and repetitive parent involvement that's going to, I think, really, really helps, because it helps parents to be on the same page, and it helps them to know what's going on with their kid. And it also stops kids from getting to progress reports or report cards and going like, wait, what? I'm failing? And it's like, bro, you have a 16. Not only are you failing, you're failing with fury. So every week checking in with kids so they can see, one, what is their grade? And then two, like before they even ask you why their grade is what it is, it's, you can see what you're missing for the week. And the best part is I didn't have to do anything. All I have to do is keep my grades updated, which is part of my job anyway, but I'm not filling this out. I'm not sending it home. Like that is something I give students to do. So it takes something off my to-do list.
Yeah. Did you talk about classroom management?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't hear you. Sorry.
Thanks. It was the best piece of classroom management advice that I ever gave.
I was reading everyone's comments. Okay. Gian over on Facebook is up next, asking, how do you handle dramatic students who complain loudly and it disrupts the class? And said student does not want to do any work in class.
I think it's either, so that kid class, like, or they want attention. So I would sit down with them and talk to them about it. So those kids, I either talk to them about it and see like what's really going on here and why aren't they doing work and that sort of thing. And then call out their behavior, like, because you do this in class. This is what I see a lot in class is like, we do this whole dramatic moment, and letting them know that you see that, letting them know you see them, letting them know that you care, letting them know that you want to see what you could be doing better to make the class something where, it's a little bit more enjoyable for them, if not a lot more enjoyable to them. And then, depending on who you are, I typically meet that stuff with my own like dramatic moments, right? So if someone's like, oh my gosh, why do we have to do this? We're reading again. I usually answer it back in somewhere similar. No, I don't even know why we even have to keep reading it. It's as if it's the root to all other education, and that you wouldn't be able to do anything else in school if you'd read it. I mean, we act like it's that big of a deal. And so I just answer back with stuff. Or like if they say, why are we reading again? It's like, did you ask your math teacher why there was numbers today? Like, did you just go numbers again? Like science, oh, we're doing formulas again. Like, what is all we ever talk about in history is stuff that used to happen. It's like, why in my class do I'm the only one that gets these questions? So it's like literally like just kind of meeting them there, and or just saying like, that's the sort of spunk I'm looking for. Let's get into this. And so it's almost like meeting kids' drama with some sort of like playful drama that it acknowledges it. In my case, it always eradicated it for the most part. And it made kids be quiet. And sometimes, look, sometimes that's all you want, right? You just want to move on and start the lesson because you know what's coming up. And even though I tell you this is what we're doing and that doesn't sound fun, you just don't know that it's going to be interesting or inspiring or cool or any of the other things. So it's, that's how I have dealt with it in the past.
Teenagers.
Yeah, they're just being teenagery.
Yep. That's what we call it here.
Yeah.
Call it being teenagery. All right. Noah is up next. I know. It's nothing you can do about it. Asking about 6 months ago, I asked when we would get bubble microphones. You said soon. When is soon? Oh, geez. Well, 6 months ago, I didn't plan to move to New Mexico.
We didn't.
So life goals have kind of.
But also getting like the process without going into it. Without going into the whole thing. It's like the process of getting
no, it's not even
made.
Let me tell you, it's not even the process of getting them made. I know how to get them made, I know how to do it, I know how to get them here. It's that you have to buy a $10,000 minimum quantity of them. I don't have anywhere to house a 10,000 quantity, and
we would look like utter lunatics. Even more than that.
So it's figuring out logistics of things like that on our personal end of like, can I afford to get another storage, like a unit to be able to house all of those? Like there's a lot in play. If I could I tried really, really hard to find a manufacturer that would just sell us 3,000. And I can't even do that. Yeah, I think 10 was the smallest quantity order that you could do. I can get them in smaller quantities, but I can't get them made in gold. Like they would just be the pink and blue ones that you find at the dollar store, but I can't. Nobody wants pink.
Well, they don't even
ones.
sell them they don't sell them anywhere anymore.
They don't, but I can get them made, and I can get them in pink and blue. Yeah. But to get them like custom, the way that we want them to represent our brand and all that, it's a minimum order of 10,000. And honestly, we don't have that like ability to house them right now.
Where we live now, we probably could.
We could. It's just another thing to figure out, but it's like there's personal logistics behind all of that sort of stuff. So, man, I really hope soon. I still want to. There's a lot that we want to do that's on our list, and moving kind of like upheaved a lot of things, and now we're coming back to what some important goals are. And as we get there, we'll get there. So I would love to get them to you sooner than later, but I don't really have a great answer.
I wish we had them for Christmas.
I know.
It's the perfect stocking stuffer.
It sure is.
Right up there next to Teach Your Class Off, available now on Amazon.
Yep. All right, looking for another question. Sorry.
You want me to sing?
If you really want to. Nope, got one. Thanks, John Fox. Woo, you saved us there. All right, John Fox is up
Christmas
next,
songs too.
asking, what are your top 3 timeless middle school novels and why? This puts you on the spot.
I'll say this, Fox. What have I had the most fun? Where are we going?
There.
All right, I was like, which one am I looking at? Where are we at? Camera 1, camera 2. So, stuff I've had the most fun reading, Romeo and Juliet, hands down. I've had I don't know why kids they just gravitate. They just loved it. I think it's still so relatable all these years later. Of Mice and Men, because again, the relatability factor and just the fact I think that we could read it as a play was really fun. And then, oh man, it kind of depends on the year, John. Like I had a year where we read, I think it's Tim O'Brien's The Things They Carried, and the kids just loved it. Another year we read Speak, and kids loved it. I've had both those books on other years and no one liked them. Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass has crushed some years and fallen flat other years in certain classes. So sometimes it depends on the class and the year. Sometimes V for Vendetta, the graphic novel, was really, really big hit. So yeah, kind of depends on who the class is. And that's always part of the game, is like feeling out who your class is so you can feel out like what's going to work. Other years, I did away with novels in some periods and just did like a whole unit or half a year on short stories because it just went better with the class. So it all kind of depends. But Mice and Men and Romeo and Juliet for sure.
All right, Patrick is up next. Yep. Asking, currently student teaching at Duke University. Our program is intense and I'm having a rough year with lesson planning. Any advice for me to lessen my stress?
So make it simple, Patrick. It's for me, I think when you student teach, so look, some of this, let me say this, even if you just continue to have a difficult time, part of writing lesson plans when you're student teaching, and even sometimes in your first like 1 to 2 years of teaching but college more than anything, college wants all this stuff that is like the core curriculum standards, why these core curriculum standards are important. Like there's all, like I remember writing 7-page lesson plans for 1 week. It was 7 pages long with all this explanation in it. And the further you get into it, you're not even sometimes even looking at things like core curriculum standards, because you already have it. You already know that you've done the work. If someone were to ask you what core curriculum skills or what state curriculum skills are you focusing on today, you could just be like, oh, we're doing this. It's going to be this, this, and this. You just know it already. And so some of the work you're doing now is to get you into that space where you have to look at all this stuff. You have to know the why behind what you're doing and stuff like that. But that'll change for you. Again, I just think that not trying to recreate the wheel really, really helps. And then I systematize it. So every Monday in my class looks the same. Every Tuesday looks the same. Every Wednesday looks the same. Every Thursday, every Friday, by and large, I'd say with about 85 to 90%. And that includes so when I say that, it's like, well, what's happening that other 15% of the time or other 10% of the time? It's school meetings, it's pep rallies, it's fire drills, it's a speaker comes in to speak to my class. Like those things throw things off. But most of the time, it's trying to do the same thing. So every Monday is you come in, we do a journal entry, you get the new vocab words, we talk about a little bit of what we did last week. We're going to talk about what we're going to do this week, and then I'm going to introduce you to something. Tuesday is journal entry, vocab review. Teach a new, so yesterday I started on this thing. Now we're going to go deep into whatever that was. So I may have introduced imagery or plot development. Now we're going deep today. And then Wednesday is just the next part of that. And Thursday is the next part of that. And then Friday is an assessment on what we did this week. Every Friday is an assessment of what we did this week, even if that thing's not done. So we might have started something like symbolism, and that might take 2 weeks to get through. But that means that I'm only assessing you on these are the parts we know. Let me check for understanding for now. And then next week, we're going to keep going. So it's not overcomplicating it and making it seem so different every single time. It's find out what works and then get better at it and just keep doing that. Same thing has worked for me. I find that when 1 week we're doing a project and then the next week we're going to do this and then we're going to do this kind of learning, it also leads kids to there's no rhythm. I can't ever fall into what we're doing here and have it work. Teachers that will do they either do one kind of vocab review or they don't review and they just give kids words on Monday and then expect they're studying them and they're going to do well on Friday, which is not happening. So they'll try and review, but it's lame because they don't want to, here's the thing. Here's the thing with that. Two things. Simple and deep is better than wide and complex. The other thing is it's better to do something that's super fun again and again and again, or having so Music Wednesday we do as a review for vocab. We do it every single Wednesday. It never loses its luster because the songs are changing every week. The videos are changing every week. But I just find that people don't end up doing that stuff because of this. Teachers want exceptional classrooms without doing exceptional teaching. And so we need to create those exceptional spaces, have the courage to show up and do the thing, but knowing that doing something simple can still be great, right? The Ramones are one of the greatest bands of all time. They played 3 chords on every single song. Nirvana, very similar thing. There's so many groups that didn't make it. It was any beginning guitar player could learn a Ramones song, but it didn't make it any less awesome. And so that's how I've sort of viewed teaching is find a way to simplify it. Find a way that next week you're going to do these similar tenets are going to be in next week's lesson plan. So now I'm just upgrading them. I'm not just dreaming up something new. Start every day the same way. Have the same 10 minutes every day so that it falls into this rhythm. And it's going to allow you to focus on the meat of the lesson and put more time into that than all this other stuff.
And as your student teaching, I would say that is all encompassing. Like, don't forget to like take time for you, because that's going to lessen your stress.
Never had credit card debt in my life until
we
did student teaching, because I couldn't work during. I had to just go to school, and I didn't have anyone to support me. Except you worked at Starbucks.
I did.
And so we ate a lot of Starbucks.
we had a plethora of coffee to keep you going.
Coffee and day old bagels. We were living the dream.
Okay, we're caught up on questions.
Cool.
I don't know. You want to sing a song?
I could.
No,
you know,
let's not.
I think so. Look, my question is this: as we're getting ready and moving into the second part of the year, one of the things I would love to start doing is we want to create workshops that happen every month, right? And so this is going to start in January, but I'm feeling where teachers are right now through the Facebook group, through the emails that I get and the DMs and stuff like that, that maybe we need one in December. That's a kind of like classroom management ish plus engagement, kind of like a one-off workshop that I'm thinking about doing. So I'd love to know what you think about that. But then looking for topics, and then in January having workshops, and we're talking about pricing these. I talked about a few weeks ago that are something teachers could do, like $39 like starter thing. So for $39, you show up and we go deep on a singular topic that is meant to help you go. I was talking to a mentee the other day, and he said his principal is trying to help him just kind of get through, like just survive the school year. I'm saying, I don't want to help you survive the school year. I want to help you have, now listen to how I'm saying this, have the best year you possibly can, right? Doesn't have to be the best year you ever had. Could be, right? It depends, right? Depends on how this falls and hits you and how hard you go at in charging into what you're doing. But I want you to do better than survive. I want you to do better than, oh my gosh, I made it. It's like, no, just be like, oh, we done? All right. Oh, okay, cool. Have a great summer, everyone. That's how I want people to end the school year. That's how I want people to go into break. So yeah. So maybe I'll throw something together for beginning of December, because Thanksgiving's this week, and yeah, and my birthday.
Well, I had a note, like, so we had a mentee that actually went to their principal and said, I'm struggling. I found this guy on YouTube and I want to take, he offers like mentoring. And he signed up and his school is paying for it. Yep. So if you ever are interested in that and you feel like, oh, I can't afford it, or like it's out of your budget, because we all know the price of groceries is crazy right now.
Learn that today.
Yeah, check with your principal and ask and see if that's an option.
Yeah.
The goal is to get people help, right? There's a lot of teachers that are struggling, and it's like, no, we just want to help people.
Yeah.
Oh, you have a question.
Cool. Go for
it. So look, in talking about workshops and even moving forward, if we did one a month, we really want to help like with whatever the teachers' needs are, not what we think people need, but it's like, no, what do y'all need? Like, shoot them a DM, like write it in an email to us, like put it in comments somewhere. We want to know what people need
so we can
workshops on, so we can serve teacher needs.
Amen.
Okay, you got a question. Gian is asking, how long do you think it takes to completely reset a classroom culture mid-year? 1 to 3 weeks?
So it can. It's going to come on a couple of things, Gian. So one, what's your level of experience? So like, these are things that like could play into it. Your level of experience, how many students are in the classroom, how much backing do you have from your school or from other teachers? And then what is the true reason that your classroom is not running as well as it is? I think a week is, here's why I don't think a week. Because I think you can absolutely start doing it in a week and get kids like falling into those rhythms and getting those behavioral management issues to a minimum, but then you have a weekend. And then they're going to come back on Monday. And we all know that kids don't remember any. They're like, what do we even do? Oh, what is this, a new book that we're reading? No, we've been reading it for 5 weeks. And so they probably forget by Monday. But but it is a good time. It doesn't mean you shouldn't do it at all. It just means that next week, you're probably going to have to do a little bit more. And then you're probably going to see something similar each Monday until that rhythm and routine keep going. But I think 2 weeks, I think, yeah, it's here's the thing, gang. It's just not that hard because it takes courage and it takes commitment. It takes saying we're doing something and then doing it. So, for instance, I have a video. It says, it's like start your class like a boss. And in that video, I talk about how to manage that first 5 to 10 minutes. So again, I was talking to this same mentee. He's just that particular call is on my mind for when I'm talking about this. I said, what's something you'd like to see happen this week that we can work through in this mentee program? Like something that, like, man, if you could wave a magic wand, it's better. And he said, I just want 5 or 10 minutes of quiet so I can tell the class what we're doing today. And I said, all right, let's run through it. Here's how you're going to start your class. First 10 minutes, and I guarantee you have a better return. Like you're going to get closer to what you want than you were. And if you keep doing this, you'll have 5 to 10 minutes of quiet every single day. And how do I know that? Because I did it. And I didn't do it because I was some kind of like, I was like, I'm not Yoda out there. It's because I chose my heart. It's because I've had those classes that are horrific. And I was shy, embarrassed, ashamed, awkward, didn't want to call kids out on stuff. I felt weird about it. But then it comes down to, that's hard. Do I want to live in a classroom? Do I have to go to a classroom every day that is a nightmare and wipes me out? Or do I want to say it and believe it and know that is hard, that is awkward, that is weird, that comes with a lot of stuff too? You have to choose your heart. So which one do I want? And I chose being committed, being confident, and at least pretending that I was confident, because I'm not always there, and it chose my heart. And so I think it's absolutely doable for everyone. It just comes down to this. Here's the beautiful part of it. It has everything to do with you and nothing to do with the students, right? So what that means is you need to become the person that you need to be to handle that class, because somebody else in your class, in your school, has those students and their class is running at least okay, if not great. It means the kids have it in them. You have to have it in you. But once you do that, now it's replicable. Now you can do it every year. Now it doesn't matter. When all the 8th grade teachers are saying, this year's 9th grade class, oh my God, wait till you see them. They're horrible. They're the worst. And I'm like, no, they're not, because I have the skills that are gonna handle the situation. As the Beastie Boys said, the skills to pay the bills.
I love it. All right, this is a fun question. John Lopez always comes up with the fun questions. What is on the Thanksgiving menu at the Reynolds household?
Cereal, Lopez.
No, not cereal.
We eat cereal with the least nutritional value.
No, I hate cereal. Actually, I don't eat cereal.
We're pretty classic. Turkey, stuffing, like all the regular stuff, right?
Sweet potato.
Oh, but now we're in New Mexico, so what do we?
So we are getting. My mom is bringing tamales. Yeah. So that's awesome. Red and green. Yeah. Tamales.
When you live in New Mexico and your mother-in-law is Mexican, it's tamale time, and I couldn't be more excited. My mother-in-law makes some of the best food I've ever had in my life.
Oh, she's not making these. Sorry to disappoint you. Tamales take a long time to make. No, she ordered them from somewhere great, but they're on order, and I'll take it.
Lopez, I was going to text you too. I got your we got your boxes.
Yes, I told him in the comments.
The guy at the post office was like, I don't know what you got, but it smells good. So it was really funny. So expect a letter from me soon. Not
going to say that those Oreos are maybe gone already.
They might already be gone. Moving on.
Okay. Jasmine's up next asking, what do you do about cursing in class?
This is another one. Depends on what grade you're teaching, depends on your personality, depends on your school. I will either I just call kids out on it. Sometimes I just remind kids. I think that they don't remember. So my son does this. My son will be in his room and he's playing video games and he curses, and we have like family members over. So I gotta like, and he's like, wait, I cursed? Oh, and I know he really doesn't know that he did it, right? Some kids will lie to you, but he doesn't know. Or like, oh, my bad. I'm so sorry I did that. So it's just reminding kids, I think especially, like I know I cursed a lot as a kid, but man, when I hear kids play video games, they curse like 1,000 times more than anyone ever needs to curse in their whole life. The other thing I do is having conversations with students about like, listen, y'all, can we have a conversation real quick? And again, when I address kids like this, I always sit with the students. I never sit in front of the students because I want to be like, we're sitting around having this conversation. The level of cursing has gotten, it's gotten to be too much. And we need to talk about why this isn't okay in class, right? So I'm not going to talk about is it or isn't okay. A lot of times I do that with stuff in class. I'm going to let you know that's not, but here's why. And then it's having that conversation, walking kids through it, and then knowing the fact that leaders are repeaters and you're going to have to repeat yourself. You're going to have to say it back to kids, right? But that's part of what we sign up for. The other thing that I do that's way more out of pocket, and I do not suggest this for everyone, but someone out there is going to know that they can do it, and other people are going to say, there's no way I can do it. I say things back to kids. So if a kid says like, I'm not doing this, and I don't want to curse because I'm going to get demonetized on YouTube. Otherwise I'd give you the real deal. But like, why we got to do this S all the time? And I'd be like, oh, so Brandon, just so you know, school has a rule. You're not allowed to say S in class. So I don't want to have to get you in trouble for saying S in class, but just, you know, S is not allowed to be said in class because, you know, of all these things we talked about before. And, you know, I'd have to call your mom, let her know that you're saying S in class. So I just make it like, I make it an explanation that one, I keep saying the word back to them, but in a really nonchalant way that's the part that's weird for people. But like, I'm just repeating what they said. And then they see how uncomfortable it is. Like when it's like, you're making it weird, Reynolds. That's what I am doing. And I just go so over the top with it that it's like, that becomes weird. So if I have a kid that says something, I'll say it sometimes back to them and be like, if you keep saying that, then I'm going to have to write this email to your mom that you keep talking about fecal matter in class. And I'm not really sure what the situation is with that, but like, I think that it might make her feel some type of way. And I really don't want your mom to feel some type of way, especially because we're coming up to it. So if you could just talk about fecal matter later, or whatever it is, right? If they say something that has to do with sex, I'll say the same thing where you did this, you thought it was okay, or you thought it was a power move because you're a kid or whatever you thought. And then I just made it so weird that you're like, I will never curse or talk about that in class again because Reynolds made it weird. So it kind of depends on where you are. You can take like the really kind of like more mature route, or you could take the Reynolds weird route, and both of them work.
Well, she said in the comments, I am constantly saying to choose better words, but has not gotten better. Do you ever have to have like a come to Jesus kind of moment of like, yo?
I do, but those are the moments when like I sit with students where I'm just like, listen, like, and it's a bunch of reasons, right? It's like, first of all, y'all, like, you know, the principal walks by, right? You know, and this is how I would talk to my students. You know, I'm always doing out of pocket stuff. Like, you know, we're like doing stuff that I'm not really even sure we should be doing, but we're trying to make class the best thing that we can. All you're doing is bringing more attention my way, and not the good kind. You're making it sound like I don't have it under control. So how is the administration supposed to trust me to take you outside, to do this thing, to bring in this guest, to have this experience, to go on this trip, if they think that y'all are just like cursing up a storm in the classroom, and then it makes me look bad. So for the sake of our class, I need you to dial it down because it's making me look bad. And look, the Reynolds kids got to eat. You want my kids to not have Christmas presents? It's having those sorts of conversations. And then I've done even some research in like talking to kids about why certain words aren't okay, alternatives to those words. So like I've had years we've made up new curse words, we've made up, or not even curse words, we've made up replacements for stuff. Because I just think of like, that was the year I was watching, gosh, this is so nerdy, I can't believe I'm about to say it out loud. Watching a show called Battlestar Galactica, and instead of the F word in there, they replaced it with frack, which in the beginning was so dumb. Do you remember this?
Yes.
But then you just kind of like get used to it because it's the word, and they're like, this is so fracking dumb. And you're just like, that's how they handled it in the show. So it's helping. It's not just always telling kids better words. It's helping them to choose better words, or finding a better word that's ridiculous or more fun, and just instituting it. I remember my students, because your mom used to say, she would get upset about something and she'd be like, "Oh, Jiminy Crickets." And I thought that was so ridiculous. So I started saying it one year, and I had students that would be like, "Jiminy Crickets, Reynolds, why do we have all this homework tonight?" And I'm just like, I low-key love that you just said Jiminy Crickets to me. And that came from my mother-in-law.
Oh, I love it. My sister is on here on Facebook. She's sneakily watching us, I guess. And she wanted to remind me that she's bringing pumpkin roll.
Well, and Courtney would know about Jiminy Crickets.
Yeah, she's probably laughing if she's still on here. All right, I'm not sure we have another question.
That's cool. It's right before break, man. Yeah. I mean, like, I'm surprised. Look,
Steph Shook's with us on Battlestar Galactica.
That's
one of their shows that, like, literally, he's like, "All right, I got it." Like sci-fi. I was like, "All right, this is you're stepping over the line of like nerddom."
Lower the shades. All right, listen, lock the front
door. Such a good show.
We're about to watch Battlestar Galactica. Yeah,
it's a good one.
Cool. Here's the show for you for over break while you're just chilling. And everyone's watching anyway, but All the Light We Cannot See, so good. It was so good.
Steph's like, "Let your nerd flag fly."
Yeah.
John
After
Lopez.
that, we started watching Firefly. That was a next level of nerdness.
John Lopez said a former college classmate produced the new version of Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about. Lopez, we were watching the 1980s, 70s version. Awesome. I watched that when I was a kid, but we were watching the newer one, and we loved it. It was awesome. Yeah. Cool. We good?
Right. Yeah, we can
end
early.
Gang, we appreciate you. Let me know. I'm going to go back and read these comments, or send me a DM or whatever. Let me know if you need a workshop before we go into winter break. So it'll happen like probably I'll announce it sometime next week, and then it'll happen in short form after that. We're going to make it as cheap as possible. Here's the thing. It can't cost me money. Right. So $39 is the price point, right? It's like to get the team to be able to do the thing. It's like, all right, bargain basement price is $39. And then we're going to start doing them at least once a month in January. So let me know. And then I hope everyone has like such a wonderful Thanksgiving break, and it's just soak it up.
Remember to give thanks for all that you have. Like that's the season, right? I love Thanksgiving.
I feel like we have such a thankful Thanksgiving this year. I mean, we always do, but it's been great. So we will see you next week. Peace.